There we go. Sorry for the delay there. We had trouble getting the Spreaker and TuneIn feed going. I just wanted to go ahead and get it all going together. We're going, we're running, we're off and running here, and I believe everybody should be able to hear us. Let's just do a little check around. Yep, looking good. Spreaker, Mixler, TuneIn. Everybody's rocking and rolling. So are we. Welcoming you guys a Tuesday edition of the Sports Fix. I was feeling even better until like 30 seconds ago when, of course, something had to go wrong. But hey, hopefully we got it out of the way here early. And we're rolling, and nobody missed anything significant. Now we're ready to roll. We've got a lot going on today. We're going to try to open up the phones a little bit. We've got Jeff Gorman joining us, talking some Indians as the Cardinals come to town here. Dr. Football back in the house later on in the show. And, of course, we're going to kick off here, talk a little hoops tonight. There might be a little Game 5 you might have heard about. We're going to talk about that coming in, too, and I've got some interesting little facts and figures heading into this one. We've got a lot to do. I'm ready to do it if you are too. I didn't even mean to do that. Let's rock and roll, baby. Welcome into the Sports Fix, today's edition. As always, I'm your host, the big daddy on the microphone, J-Rocc, Jerry Myers. Call me what you want, man. I'm glad to be here with you and hear you here with us each and every weekday at noon, live across the Sports Fix Radio Network. Maybe you're listening live on TuneIn's radio app worldwide, on Spreaker, on Mixler, their respective digital and mobile apps, or perhaps you're one of the many that listen right directly off of our home base, the sportsfix.net. One-stop shop for everything you need. Sports Fix, Cleveland sports, all of that, you guys. However you're doing it live every day, thank you for being here as well. Shout out to everybody. So many more of you guys listening on digital delay, 24 hours a day, on sites all over the world, you guys. It's amazing. iHeartRadio, the world's largest internet radio provider. iTunes, Stitcher Radio, SoundCloud, CarPlay, so many different places. However you guys listen to the show, feed the show, download, subscribe, get your fix. Thank you so much for doing it and being here each and every day. Speaking of that, be a part of the show. I say it all the time. I'm going to have a few minutes here. Jeff Gorman's going to join us in just about 10, 12 minutes from now, so we can get some calls in if anybody wants to hit us up. 216-539-7535. 216-539-7535. As always, can't get to the phone. Perhaps you're listening to us on your phone. Hit us up on Facebook and Twitter. Facebook.com/TheSportsFix. Tweet with us at TheSportsFixCLE. And, of course, you can email us 24/7. TheSportsFix@AOL.com. Again, 216-539-7535. Facebook and Twitter, Facebook.com/TheSportsFix. Tweet with us, guys, all the time at TheSportsFixCLE, and you can email us, TheSportsFix@AOL.com. Jeff and Bill coming up to join us later, but I'm going to start off the show a little bit talking tonight. Cavaliers, Bulls, Game 5 here. A great series so far. We spent a lot of time yesterday talking about it and had some great conversations with you guys on and off the air here in the last few days. And I love that, you guys. I say it all the time. I don't just give out this stuff all the time for during the show. Whether it's on the phones, whether it's on the Facebook or Twitter, don't just hit me up during the time the show's on, but really 24/7. I love hearing from you guys all the time, even if it's just a comment here and there. We've talked a lot here about the Cavs and the Bulls' first 4 games and the way this has come down. LeBron has the ankle wrapped up. No shoot around for him this morning. Really looking to keep him off his feet as much as possible until time for the game preparations. Same with Kyrie Irving is, by the way, tendonitis in the left knee. We talked about this yesterday. I mean, overcompensating. Any of you guys really know what that's like. Say you hurt yourself, you injure something in your lower body. A lot of times after that heals, the opposite side will be banged up because you overcompensated, put more weight on that side to take off the pressure on the injury, and it ends up causing a problem there. That's where Kyrie Irving's at. And and he was throwing some scary percentages out there yesterday, talking about, being 30-40%, but realistically that's what it is, and that, look, you can see it watching him play. But still, I mean, I go off what we said, the the explanation of, hey, I'll take 30-40% of Kyrie Irving over whatever we have. Maybe if we had stronger alternatives. Hey, Delly's giving you everything he can, and he has been a very strong soldier in this series for the Cavaliers. He's really come up big. Everybody has. It's been a total effort, and that's what it's taken, with everybody limping, with everybody struggling, and that's just going to continue heading into the pivotal Game 5. But you've put yourself exactly where you want to be here, in a position to need to win 2 games out of 3, with 2 of them at home. Game 5 here, and I mean, seriously, and by the way, too, real quick, talking back, Dan Wismar sent me an email yesterday evening, I believe it was, and it just said, you were right about David Blatt's explanation. And if you listen to what he said, David Blatt, when he explained why he was, because yesterday we discussed the different thought processes at the end of the game, and I was really, the thing that I had said was what was baffling to some people, to many people, was the idea that not necessarily that LeBron wouldn't take the last shot, because as I said, I could definitely, number one, you look at his shooting percentages, as Dan Wismar pointed out yesterday, you can make the argument there that he wasn't hot. But number two, I could see him being a decoy on the play, but the fact that he was inbounding, I said, man, there's only one explanation for me, and I'm positive that this is what David Blatt's going to say, and it is what he said. LeBron James is the best passer on the team. We just tried 3 different times to get the ball in and had nothing but trouble. We have no timeouts left. I needed to make sure we got the right pass off, but then, of course, the play was changed. And anyways, but that was the explanation that I wanted to hear, because that was really the one that made the most sense to me, and that's exactly what he said. But, man, heading into tonight now, you've got Game 5. It's at home, and the place is going to be absolutely rocking. One of my buddies has season tickets. He's torn. To this point, he's got some good money offers for those tickets tonight, and he's like, man, it's going to be a game time decision, because they keep offering more and more, and I go, man, that could make up for some of the games I went to this season. But then he wants to go too, because it's going to be just an incredible environment there tonight, and so I don't know what he's going to do, but we were talking about that last night. But man, with that atmosphere comes all the things that come with a Game 5. I'll tell you what, the Plain Dealer had a breakdown this morning of the Cavaliers and their franchise history when it comes to Game 5s of a playoff series tied at 2 games apiece. In every series but one, they've done it 9 times. The Cavaliers have had 9 playoff series where they've been tied at 2 heading into Game 5. 8 out of 9 times, the team that won Game 5 went on to win the series. I mean, that speaks volumes. I mean, in general, those percentages reverberate just a little slighter, but across the NBA, across most sports, I mean, Game 5 is a pivotal game. Not saying that it is the end of the road, because many times we've seen teams come back, the championship teams, from that 3-2, win those final 2 games. We've seen LeBron's team with the Bulls do it. We've seen many teams. But looking at the Cavaliers' history here, that's pretty definitive. 8 out of 9 times, the team that won Game 5 went on to win the series. Same grouping of 9 games. The home team has won 6 out of the 9 Game 5s. There's been twice that the road team has won. Both of those were the Cavaliers. The Cavaliers have only lost once in a Game 5. Talk about the ghosts of the last time LeBron was here. Cavaliers have only lost once in a Game 5 at home when the series was tied at 2, and it was 2010. It was, of course, the infamous game with the coming off the court and all of that from the Boston series. The last time LeBron played at the Q before he came back here for his latest run. But throughout history, starting with the Miracle of Richfield Cavaliers, that series with Washington was tied at 4. Cavaliers won Game 5, won the series. Boston Celtics at home, 1992. I remember that one because it was Larry Bird's final playoff series, and I remember he was, very hobbled by injuries at that point, but I was still younger, so I didn't necessarily realize just how hobbled he was. But they won Game 5, ended up winning that series there at home in a Game 7 after getting blown out. And that'll show you the swings of the series. That 92 Boston series, Cavaliers whipped Boston in Game 5. They won by 16 points. Then they go to Boston, and the Celtics win Game 6 by 31 points over the Cavaliers. 31 points. And it took overtime for them to win Game 4, get the series back for Game 5. So you go from overtime to a blowout for the Cavs to a huge blowout for the Celtics, come back home, and the Cavaliers win by an 18-point margin back home. And look, I mean, those swings are just ridiculous. But another series there. 2006, same story. Wizards and Cavaliers, 2-2, Game 5 at the Q. Cavaliers won Game 5, closed out the series, Game 6 in Washington. 2010, I mentioned, it's the only time that the Cavs have lost a best-of-7 when they came home for Game 5. It's Boston. The Celtics destroyed the Cavaliers, 120-88, and then went on to lose the series. Cavaliers lost Game 6, 94-85. They've had some road ones as well in 1976. 1976, the Celtics lost Game 5, or the Cavaliers lost Game 5 and lost the series in 6. Same thing in 1992 to the Bulls. Cavaliers tied that series at 2, lost Game 5, went to Chicago, lost Game 6. 2006, they won Game 5. This is one of those where I'm talking about. It's definitely not the end of the road, even if you do win Game 5, because the Cavaliers beat Detroit. Remember, in 2006, they took a 3-2 lead in the semis. Detroit won Game 6 in Cleveland and Game 7 in Detroit to knock the Cavaliers out in that series. 2007, Cavaliers and Pistons, they won Game 5 in a rematch and then went on to win the series, took Game 6 at home, and in 2008, they lost Game 5 to the Boston Celtics and went on to lose that series by losing Game 7 in Boston. So there you go. 8 out of 9 times in Cavaliers playoff history, the Cavaliers, the winner of Game 5, has went on to win the series. It's such a crucial swing, and a couple of other ones thrown at you. On the Chicago Bulls side, the Chicago Bulls have entered 9 Game 5s, tied at 2 in their franchise career. They are 0-9 in series after they've lost Game 5. Flip side, when they win Game 5, they're 9-1 overall in best-of-7 series. So when they win Game 5, they've won 9 out of 10 series that they've played in the playoffs over their franchise history. When they lose Game 5, they have never won any of the 9 playoff series where they've lost Game 5. That's an amazing stat when the teams are tied at 2. So it goes for both franchises. It's feast or famine. Both teams are practically unbeatable after winning Game 5 tied at 2 and have practically never won after the reverse has happened. It's a big one. And hey, speaking of things that practically never happen, here's one from Game 4. Remember, Cavaliers ended the third quarter down by 7. In the history of the NBA playoffs, since 1946 in best-of-7 playoff series, Cavaliers situation, road teams trailing by 7 after 3 quarters. The Cavaliers had a 117 winning percentage chance. Only 12 of over 100 teams. 12-91 is the record of teams in that same situation as the Cavaliers in all those years in the playoffs. Cavaliers became only the 13th team ever to come from behind at that much of a deficit on the road in the NBA playoffs. So who knows, man? They're fighting for their lives, but there's all kinds of those little numbers and statistical probabilities out there for you. And I'll tell you what, those probabilities are a lot better to talk about than what could have happened if you lost Game 4, found yourself in the same boat that the Houston Rockets are now in as they play the Clippers. They're down 3-1. Only 8 NBA teams have come back to win a playoff series trailing 3-1. Nobody's done it since 2006, but only 8 teams have ever come back from that situation. That's why winning that Game 4 was so crucial for the Cavs. And now heading into Game 5, you hear the numbers. They don't lie. I mean, for each franchise, that Chicago one is equally as stunning. 0-9 when they've lost Game 5. Tied at 2 in an NBA playoff series there, and the opposite when they win. So it's going to be big. It's going to be huge. Both teams hobbled. I have no idea. Hopefully by the time we're done here, we can get updates on Pau Gasol. I don't know if he's going to play tonight or not. Obviously, that's a big factor. LeBron, Kyrie going to play for the Cavaliers. It's all hands on deck here. And we'll continue to talk more about this. We've got a lot more to go here. I'm going to hit the first break of the show. Let's get out of here. Get Jeff Gorman back. Don't go anywhere. We're going to shift gears. We'll talk a little bit about this series here with Jeff, and then we'll talk a little Tribe as well, as they've got a series coming in. St. Louis Cardinals. Boy, it just doesn't get any easier for the Indians here. They're looking to do what they haven't done since the beginning of the season. As Dan Wismar said yesterday, they're tied for their second longest winning streak of the season. They're looking for 2. We're going for 2 here tonight. They're trying to win back-to-back games. Still haven't done it. They have a chance to do it here tonight. We'll talk some Cardinals here. We'll talk Indians and all of that with Jeff Gorman. We've got Dr. Football coming up a little bit later on and so much more, guys. Don't go anywhere. We have got plenty more to come. We're still going to talk more Cavs and Bulls. We're talking Tribe, talking Browns, all of that coming up. But next, Jeff Gorman, Indians101.com, joins us. Don't go anywhere. We have just begun the Sports Fix, baby.
Gotta make it happen, come on, Cavs. Gotta make it happen with your fast break action. Gotta make it happen.
The Sports Fix. Who's this?
The Sultan of SWAT.
Who?
King of Crack.
Who?
Lost the Clout. The Great Bambino.
We may not always know where we're going, but we do hit all the bases. Make sure your home plate for sports talk is the Sports Fix.
Hey guys, before we go to the break, I want to talk to you a little bit again about our good friends at Harry Buffalo North Olmsted, the UFC, the Ultimate Fighting Championships, some of the hottest fights in the world today. Each and every one of their huge events, Harry Buffalo is one of the few places in Northeast Ohio you can go there and watch each and every UFC fight at the Harry Buffalo. And let me tell you, I've been there. The people are out the door. They are to the rafters. It is one of the craziest environments for some UFC fights. Wing Mondays, they've got great deals on wings and drinks, and every day of the week there's a different special, a different deal. And don't forget the Bison Burger, the unbelievable. It is the combination of a fantastic burger and eating healthy combined into one unbelievable sandwich. You have got to get a Bison Burger while you're there. So whatever you're looking for, whatever day of the week, Monday through Friday, Saturday, Sundays, there's something for you at the Harry Buffalo North Olmsted, just outside Great Northern Mall. Check them out today. Harry Buffalo, join the herd.
The Sports Fix is on iHeartRadio. Download the free iHeart app today. Subscribe to the show and get your fix.
I'm Little Teapot, short and stout.
Here is my handle and here is my spout.
No, Dad, like this. When I get all steamed up, then I shout, tip me over and
pour me out. This is WWE superstar Roman Reigns. The smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life. Take time to be a dad today.
Visit fatherhood.gov, brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Fantasy sports lovers, you put so much time, hard work, and effort into playing week to week that it quickly stops being a fantasy and starts getting real. Real time spent making real decisions, creating real victory.
I'm the greatest man in the world!
And when the smoke clears, you want to show off those victories with a real prize.
I mean, a really real prize.
Nobody does that like Fantasy Jocks. The crew over at Fantasy Jocks have beautiful, high-quality, and heavy-duty championship belts, rings, trophies, and so much more for all your fantasy sports needs.
The trophy's 12 feet high, and it is glorious!
Football, baseball, hoops, you name it, they have it. Plus, they have awesome draft kits and party supplies to make all your preseason activities the envy of everyone. If your league needs a ring, belt, or trophy, or you want to upgrade what you already have, there's literally only one place to go. If you're going to be a fantasy jock, do it right.
It's mine, the most magnificent belt ever created, and it's mine.
With America's fantasy sports superstore, fantasyjocks.com.
Now, back to the Sports Fix.
Welcome back to the Sports Fix Live. That's right, nothing but a good time tonight. Gonna be rocking down at the corner of Carnegie and Ontario. You got the Cardinals coming to town. Should be a decent, I don't know, I mean, you would think that would be a decent draw, even though it's a midweek series, because, you know, they're a strong team coming in hot. Anyways, early start times tonight. But you've got that and the watch party down at the Q, which, by the way, you know, my brother, he's gone to the last couple of those. He says they're a great time, man. I've had a couple of other people tell me, too, that they go down there. And I think when there's not an Indians game, there's free parking. But tonight, because there's an Indians game, I think they've got $10 parking in the thing. But it's free admission into the queue, and they do all the same in-game entertainment and all that stuff, just like as if it was, which is, of course, for guys like me, all the stuff that I don't really care for at a Cavs. It's like going to a Cavs game and getting all the things that I don't really need except for the game, because the game's up on the big screen. But my brother, he takes my nephew, and they have a great time, and he said the last couple games have been pretty fun there. So obviously you've got the home game tonight, and then for Game 6, they've already sent out the deals about all the different ones, but the one at the Q. So this week you've got a couple of good reasons to get down there. Going to be a raucous atmosphere down at the corner of Carnegie and Ontario. Got the Tribe, got the Cavs, and we got Jeff Gorman from Indians101.com joining us to talk about both of those things here. You guys can keep the conversation going on Facebook, on Twitter, facebook.com/thesportsfix. Tweet with us at thesportsfix, CLE. Email us thesportsfix@AOL.com. Let's have a good time with my man Jeff Gorman here as soon as I allow him to speak. Jeff, my man, brother, how you doing?
J-Rocc, I don't think I could possibly be any better. I've got good news to give you. I got a special announcement I've been teasing, and I'm ready to drop it on you.
Hey, brother, I haven't even asked you behind the scenes what it is, because I wanted to be surprised like everybody else. But I'm with you, man. I'm feeling good too. Do you want to just go ahead? I'll just leave the floor with you, man. You go ahead and what do you got going on?
Well, when you introduced me as writing for Indians 101 and Browns 101, but now you can also introduce me as an announcer for the Lake County Captain.
Really?
Yeah.
That is tremendous. Talk to me about that, Jeff. What do you got? PA announcer for the Captains?
PA announcing, yeah. I'm doing 20 of their 71 games, and I've already done 5 of them. The reason I haven't mentioned it yet is because we're keeping it a secret until the Mother's Day games. We could bring my parents up and surprise them with the fact that I've been announcing for a pro baseball team, which is what I've wanted to do since I was about 6 years old.
That is amazing. Wow, that's great, man. Congratulations. That is pretty cool,
Thank you.
Man. You are the new PA. There you go, doing the PA up there, man. And that's cool, man. That's pretty good. I know some of the guys up the Captain. Craig Deese, he does some stuff with 1330 there with the station, and we don't both do some high school broadcasting and stuff. He's the Captain's guy. But, yeah, it's pretty cool, man. Great stuff, man. Great stuff. You going to be PA announcing for Jeff Jarrett when the Global Wrestling comes there? Or?
I hope so. I'm angling for it. I'm going to try to be up there doing something, even if I have to, take guys' ring jackets back to the back. I just want to be a part of that show. July 11th, I think that is.
Yeah, absolutely. Sounds good, man. Well, Jeff, my man, welcome into the show. And as I was saying, going to be a whole lot of things going on downtown. The corner of Carnegie and Ontario will be jumping tonight. You got Cavaliers, huge Game 5. You've got the Indians in the beginning of the series. What are your thoughts, by the way, here? Cavs, man. I know you're a big Cavs guy, too, here. First 4 games. How about this past weekend, man? The buzzer beaters on both sides, the physical playoff ball, man. I'm loving it. How about you?
It's fantastic. From a fan standpoint, it's really, really great. I mean, we knew this would be difficult. I think that considering how well the Cavs played in the second half of the season, I think we didn't think that the playoffs would be this difficult until maybe we got to the finals. But boy, the Bulls have really brought it, as they always do. And with Derrick Rose, being healthy and playing the way he can, that really makes them, super dangerous, almost as dangerous as us. And of course, the Cavs being, all banged up. And so it's in a way, this kind of adversity is really good for the Cavaliers if they can somehow get through it. If they can win tonight and then get in a situation where they can, close it out at home. Of course, the big win was, just the other day, so you don't go into an elimination situation on the road, which is all sorts of disastrous. I mean, the fact that LeBron was able to make that shot, really opens things up a little bit. And if we can slug this out and come out on top, or, even if we don't, we can certainly win the last 2 at home. But I think that if we can get through this bowl series, we might find the next series not as tough as this one.
Well, I got to tell you, I have my own thoughts about the Atlanta Hawks, but, man, I'll tell you, the Washington Wizards, man, that series, though, right there, every series, with the exception of the Clippers series, is all tied at 2, and you can really see the competition, the how close these teams are, how close when you get to this level of the playoffs, the difference is between winning and losing, and, of course, the Cavaliers, the advantage to them is they've got games 5 and 7 at home. So you have 2 out of 3 at home here. And I'm telling you, tonight, man, it's going to be rocking. Like I said, I was telling people, one of my buddies is on the fence. He's like, man, I'm telling you, I can make a lot of money for not going tonight, because he was checking on StubHub, just comparing his tickets. And literally the minute that game ended the other day, his ticket prices jumped up for game 5. And now he's got the tough decision, but either way, man, it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be incredible. Cavaliers, the walking wounded, as I said, but so is Chicago. They've got their own issues. Pau Gasol is banged up, and it's gonna be a dogfight to the end. But if the Cavs can pull it out tonight at the Q, then I think the chances are good for them to go and win this thing in Game 6 in Chicago. So we'll see. But as I mentioned, I don't know if you heard right before you came back with us, right before the break, I'm telling you, there's such a delineation. Both of these teams in their playoff histories, when they've been 2-2 heading into a Game 5 against other teams, not just against each other, but in general, the Cavs have been in this situation 9 times, and the winner of Game 5 has won the series 8 out of 9 times. The Bulls, 9 times that they've lost it in Game 5, tied at 2, they've lost the whole series. And 9 out of 10 times that they've won it, they've won the whole series. I mean, it really is that crucial of a game. So a good thing for the Cavaliers. This is what, even though you couldn't overtake Atlanta for number 1, this was what overtaking Toronto and Chicago for that second seed. This is why it was important right here, because it puts you in a position to have the key games, Game 5 and Game 7, at the Q where you need them to be.
That's a very good point. A lot of people think, well, you want the higher seed so you can be home for Game 7. But really, it's Game 5 and Game 7, because, like you said, when you lose Game 5 and you go down 3-2, you're just under a monumental amount of pressure. You've really got to win 2 games. You can only win one of them at a time, but, both of the Game 6 and Game 7 are both stacked up. There's 2 big mountains that you have to climb, and there's really no margin for error. It really allows the team that won Game 5 to play a little bit more loose and a little bit more aggressive, knowing that they've got your backs against the wall. And as you said, most of the time they're able to finish the job.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting. And again, the Cavaliers put themselves here. They fought their way back. That weekend was great, and I'm very excited to see what happens tonight. And I'm curious to see, too, the crowd. I don't know. I was just speculating before you came on. I don't know. I know it's a midweek series. Like, if this was a weekend series, I think it'd be a little more marquee. Although, something about St. Louis, I've always thought this, not just here in Cleveland, but they're like a marquee team that's not marquee, really. Like, they just win a lot, but they're not necessarily a huge draw, I guess. To me, if I'm a baseball fan, that would be a series that I'd be interested in seeing, especially they're one of the best teams in baseball, and they're coming in with 22 wins here on the early season. I would be interested, but I'm curious to see what the attendance is going to be. You've got those early starts again, the 6:10 starts for today and tomorrow, and you've got the Cavaliers game next door. Going to be interesting to see how the Tribe fares as St. Louis comes to town.
Right, maybe people who can't get tickets to the Cavs can just wander right over and watch the Indians. That would be something, it's kind of a novelty to see the Cardinals, because these teams, they don't really play each other that often. They haven't played since 2012, and even that was in St. Louis. And strangely enough, the Indians have kind of had the Cardinals' number ever since interleague play began. We're the only team that the Cardinals have never beaten in a series before.
I was going to ask you if you knew that same thing. Yeah, that's absolutely true. They're actually one of the best interleague teams in baseball overall since interleague play started. They're the 3rd best team in all of baseball in interleague play. But yet, as you said, the one franchise that they have never won a series against is the Indians. And, of course, this would be the season to try to turn that around, because the Tribe's coming in just 11-19. Cardinals, as I mentioned, 22-9. Tribe, talking about things they're trying to do, still looking to win back-to-back games for the first time since that first series of the season. They have a chance to do that here. They were able to steal that last game of the series. Their great performance by Salazar. I shouldn't say steal it, but you know what I mean. They were able to salvage that series, and now here they come. Today is actually probably one of the most behoovable matchups for you if you're the Indians looking at this series, because of course you've got Waka coming at the end of it. You've got stronger matchups on the next two games, but here you've got Lance Lynn and Carlos Carrasco. A definite chance for the Indians to start this series on the right track.
Right, you look at those three pitchers, Lynn, Lackey, and Waka, and you think you probably have your best chance against Lynn. Although his ERA is under 4, which is more than we could say for all three Indian starters this week with Carrasco, Kluber, and Bauer. But it's going to be tough. The Indians are going to. It's interesting because you have a team like the Cardinals, and they're really pretty much where the Indians want to be right now. They're at the top of the league. They've got things going the way. Although they did lose 2 out of 3 against the Pirates, but part of that is because they didn't have their big slugger Matt Carpenter, who's already got 20 RBI, and so they're going to have him back. So that's certainly not going to help the Indians. But just the way that the Cardinals play the game, it's something that they talk about a lot about the Cardinal way of playing ball. They're very strong defensively. They're very such a fundamentally sound team. They play very smart, and they really don't beat themselves. And that's why they are always good, if not great, because they've just got so many good complementary parts. Even guys like, Colton Wong, their second baseman, he's just tearing the cover off the ball. He's hitting almost 500 over the last week. So they've got lots of different guys that contribute, as we saw when they won the World Series with David Freese hitting that home run. They're not a team that's built on superstars. They're built around everybody getting together and playing strong ball together. And that's what the Indians really have to do. And, this is also a team that is built on strong starting pitching. As we mentioned, the guys coming in right now, Lance Lynn, John Lackey, who had a great start in his last time out, and then Waka, who's 5-0. That's really where we wanted the Indians to be. We imagined that Kluber would be like on a Cy Young pace again, and other pitchers would be doing well. But strangely enough, the only starting pitcher for the Indians who's excelled is Salazar, who started the season in the minors.
Absolutely. I agree with you there. And, looking at several of those things that you talked about, man, I mean, the Indians have the misfortune as well. Their pitching staff has been struggling, as you just mentioned, at the end of that. And even though the Cardinals are coming in and losing 2 straight here and looking at their first potential 3-game losing streak of the season, they're also, as a team, you mentioned some individuals, but as a team, they're hitting very well right now as well. In the last, I think, week, 10 days, they've batted 300. They were averaging over 6 runs a game. So that is a misfortune for the Indians with the troubles that they've had there with the pitching, even though you look at the guys, as you mentioned, that they're trotting out there here for this series, and, those are your guys. Kluber and Lackey tomorrow should be a good one. Bauer and Waka should be a fantastic matchup on Thursday. By the way, funny, this email popped up while I was talking to you from the Tribe, as they send all their updates every day, and you mentioned about the overflow from the Cavs game. In their breakdown for tonight's game, just letting you know all the pertinent details. Gates open at 4 for the right field gate. The other gate's at 5 for the 6:10 start here. And they put in bold letters, the Cavaliers' playoff game against the Bulls will be televised in the corner, the new 2-story bar at Progressive Field. And you know what, though? Off the topic, that's something Dan Wismar and I had mentioned that we could see a lot of people doing anyway, not just for that particular game, but using that as the bar that they go to after work, as the place that they go to grab a drink, because it's open. They can walk right into it there from the street level, and it's just like going anywhere else, except it's an outdoor patio, and there's a baseball game taking place in the background. And I know that sounds weird to Indians fans, but that's part of what they're going for with that there too, because it's cheap enough that it's like coming in and paying a cover, a 2-drink minimum or something. I don't know, but anyways, but it's funny. funny that they put that in bold letters there. So, hey, just in case you don't want to actually watch the game, we're going to have the Cavs game on the TV in the bar so you can watch that at the same time. No, but that is good because that is something that I would want to do if I was there. I'd want to be able to keep track of both. But there. So, anyways, getting back to the game, though, tonight, as we said, Carrasco and Lynn and Carlos Carrasco, I mean, he's had an interesting start to his season, obviously, as we've talked about here. But he's coming out here tonight and facing a lineup that's been doing pretty well. It would be a really good start, and hey, talking about attendance and all, that'd be a good way to go to start this series here with a victory. Carrasco's got back-to-back victories in his last couple of starts. Maybe he can help the Tribe get back-to-back victories for the first time since Houston.
Yeah, well, the good news is, the Indians batters are doing okay. They're not fantastic. They're not setting the world on fire, but this team is showing some offense, like they did in the last game over the weekend. They got about 8 runs, so it's not like this team is like at the very beginning of the season. Oh my gosh, we're only getting 2 runs a game. Because you can't really do anything with that. Your pitchers have to be perfect, which they certainly have not. So the bats have woken up, especially with Kipnis at the top of the order. In a perfect world, Bourne's at the top of the order and he's doing well, but since that hasn't worked out, Kipnis has just been fantastic as a leadoff hitter. So you got to go ahead and keep him there. Of course, Brantley's hitting the ball very well. So and then Moss is really doing a good job from a RBI production standpoint. So you're at this point, you can kind of count on the Indians hitters to come up with something, maybe 4 or 5 runs. It's not like, we got to win this one 2-1. So that's a good thing. So it's just that guys like Carrasco and then, of course, Kluber tomorrow, they're going to have some runs to work with, hopefully, so they don't have to be too perfect. But the one problem is the defense. And I was wondering if you saw this. The article in Sports Illustrated where they said that this year's Cleveland Indians could end up being one of the worst defensive teams in the history of baseball. Did you see that?
Listen, much like the actual Cleveland Indians, I canceled my subscription to Sports Illustrated. Okay, I don't have any. No, but by the way, did you see that? The Indians.
I did, yeah. That was funny. They canceled their subscription. The team canceled their subscription to Sports Illustrated.
I thought that was hilarious. But no, and I hear you on that. Real quick, before you get to the defense, I wanted to step back a bit because you actually are shortchanging the offenses what they've done even a little bit more in the month of May. And I know it's only May 12th, but they've gone from April. They averaged only 3.5 runs a game. They're averaging over 6 runs a game in the month of May. I mean, they've practically doubled their offensive output. Since Jason Kipnis went to the top of the order, he's batting over 460. Michael Brantley's got a 10-game hitting streak. He's batting 385. I mean, the Indians have really figured out by putting Kipnis and Santana as the table setters there, and Kipnis has just become a small sample size, but such a dynamic leadoff hitter. Man, if he could stay there, I'm telling you, the Indians lineup has some real potential to continue to increase, as you say, with those guys, with Moss being able to produce some runs, and as you begin to add guys, you add Gomes back into it, and things settle themselves out here in right field, and somebody gets the majority of those at-bats. I mean, this lineup, I think, can only get better at this point. So actually doing a little bit better than you said. But yeah, you go back to the defense, and that's something all of us, Dan Wismar, Mike Brandenberry, all talk about, because there is, and I understand that it's not just the errors. It's also some of them just it's making plays that don't get an error in the score sheet but still are poor. I still don't go with the far end of the Indians could be just the worst defensive team. I don't in any stretch of the means think that they're great either or even good. I was just hoping for slightly less than average, but the thing that I hold my head up on a little bit, it's not going to help you this year, is that will be changing in the next 12 months or so, because as you add some defense to the other side of that infield, you add Lindor, you add Urshela, the defense is going to go up to another level. But unfortunately right now, part of that is true, because even in the games where they don't make errors, you're going to see the defense costing you here and there.
Yeah, and that's what I was wondering, if there might be something that might have to happen here. I know people are saying, "Oh, don't bring Lindor up yet," because he's not ready. But you're in a situation where you can't let this season get away from you. And if you're going to make a change, you want to make it early enough so it can, because, sometimes we draw parallels between the Indians and the Cavaliers or the Browns. But, of course, the Cavaliers obviously transformed themselves in the middle of the season because the grouping that they had was really not working. And they got rid of the pieces that weren't working. They brought in Mozgov, Shumpert, J.R. Smith, and that was the group that worked. So I'm not saying you have to undergo everybody. I'm not blaming one or two people, but let's just say, for example, you bring up Lindor to replace Jose Ramirez at short. Maybe you trade Chisenhall and maybe put somebody at third base, whether it be the guy you get back, and somebody who can just play better on defense. And maybe you can say, you know what? We're not going to worry about how much offensive production we're going to get out of shortstop and third base. Let's just concentrate on having good defense there and let everybody else provide the offense. I think that if you could do that, you could really start to pick things up because, like this article in Sports Illustrated was saying, guys like Kluber and Carrasco are not really pitching much worse than they were last year as far as, striking batters out. They're striking lots of guys out. They could be almost as good as they were last year. It's just that the defense is letting them down. I'm not saying I'm quoting that as scripture, but I'm just saying that was their take on it. And it's interesting if you think maybe this team might need to get transformed a little bit defensively, possibly in the next 4 or 5 weeks, and that might be enough to possibly save this season.
Well, I agree with you there, but you have to realize there's a reason Lindor is not here, and it doesn't have anything to do with money. When Ramirez went in the tank, if Lindor had been hitting halfway anything, then he'd be up here, I think, right now. But he hasn't played himself into any position to get called up. So he kind of put the Indians in a position where they couldn't do anything there. I have no doubt that he may have been up here by now if he had been hitting well and he had been burning things up since he came down. So he's showing struggles adjusting to that AAA level, which would make sense. It's really the first time that he's been slowed down yet. I don't expect it to take long, but you can't bring a guy up another level when he's already a little in over his head. You don't want to submerge him too early, even though I think his talent will eventually overcome. So, but if he had been hitting the ball, if he was on fire right now, he'd already be here. So, I do believe that. But you're talking still 4 or 5 weeks down the road. I'm with you. We're 30 games in. If you're using the Cavaliers as an example, this is 12, 15 games into the season. You know what I mean? Even they didn't reconstitute things that early in the season. I'm with you. And also, it's easier said than done. You give up on Lonnie Chisenhall and you want to trade him, that's great. You have to find somebody that wants him, and you have to find somebody that's going to bring something back in some value too. There's variables there, but I hear you, but we are 30 games into this season, and I just don't know. Plus, the other reason that I mentioned that we're so early, not for the Indians, but it's for other teams too. The earlier in the season, the less anybody else is also ready to start making moves yet, because they haven't given up on their seasons yet either. It takes a while before teams are ready to start selling off pieces. Jeff, you with me? Did I lose you?
Yeah.
Jeff Gorman. There you go. Where'd you go, man?
There we go. I don't know.
All right.
I don't know where I went. I lost you for a second.
But anyway, so that's where we're at here, and we're looking at the series. Lance Lynn tonight, Carlos Carrasco. Then you've got Corey Kluber taking the mound for the Indians tomorrow, looking to get off that 0-5 schneid there, taking on John Lackey. Trevor Bauer, 12-10 on Thursday, the businessman special, taking on the undefeated Michael Wacha. Should be a fun time, man. And again, tonight, should be rocking down there at the corner of Carnegie and Ontario between the Cavs and the Indians.
Definitely. It's not going to be easy, of course, going up against, a pretty world-class team like the Cardinals, but if this team can somehow win 2 out of 3, of course, you got to go back on the road. The schedule's been really, really difficult. Even you didn't expect the Twins to be as tough as they were. They just seem to be running up against one tough opponent after another, and then, you got the Cardinals come in and then on the road for 7 games. So I hope the second half of the season is easier than the first. But if we can somehow squeak out a couple of wins, 2 out of 3 would be great. It's going to be difficult to beat Wacha on a Thursday. But then I think maybe the team can finally start to build some momentum, because the good news is it is still early. It is still about the middle of May. But this team can't wait too much longer before getting things going because they really have a lot of ground to make up.
Oh, absolutely. And you're about to hit the road for a 7-game road trip. Didn't really take as much advantage of this large grouping of home games that I hoped they would, and now you're about to hit the road here. You got Texas coming up this weekend. You got and as you said, hey, look, everybody's got to play everybody, but I have mentioned that when you look at yesterday, when Dan and I were talking, I said we looked at the beginning of the season with all the Central games. I said the problem is that the whole Central is good, and so it's been one tough opponent after another, and that's fine, but when you're struggling to find yourself and to play good baseball night after night, and then you're also playing teams that are playing good baseball night after night, it magnifies your weaknesses. It makes you look even worse because you're also battling tough competition. And again, that is not using the competition as an excuse, but that magnifies the problems that you're already having.
Right. You need to get yourself in a position where you got a good stretch. Sometimes you just need some taxis to beat up. And we did that a lot last year. Find some teams that are struggling, get some momentum going, win 3 out of 4 and start to make up some ground. But unfortunately, this year so far, the Indians have been those taxis. So it's just a matter of, just hanging in there. And, we talk about Terry Francona and the great job he's done. This is really his toughest test. A team with the talent that it has, with the expectations that it has, getting off to a slow start. If Francona can somehow pull this season out to where we're in it at the end or possibly get to the playoffs at the end, that would really be an amazing feat because it is really not going to be an easy task for him this year.
No, not at all. It's definitely been a struggle. Too, real quickly, before I let you go, we talk about the Indians and their struggles, sitting at 11-19 with so many hopes to start the season. But a couple of questions for you. What's a bigger surprise to you outside of the Indians in the American League? The Yankees or the Astros? Let me start there. What's a bigger surprise? I mean, both teams, Yankees 21-12, Astros 20-12. Who saw the Houston Astros coming? Now, I did know that they were building a core of young guys, but I didn't know that they were ready, and it's still, they strike me as one of those teams that could fold as things go. They get a little good start. You see that a lot. But early on, man, the Astros and the Yankees as well. Which one to you is a bigger surprise?
Oh, I think the Astros are definitely a bigger surprise because, even just as recently as last year, you think the Astros, it's Altuve, and then it's pretty much a bunch of nobodies, a bunch of guys who are barely out of the minor league. So they obviously have been doing a lot of work down there, and a lot of guys who have coming up. Again, they haven't proven themselves over a whole season. It'll be really interesting to see if they can keep this up the whole season. They're definitely making progress, even if they fall a little bit short and maybe finish around 500. But I think the Astros are definitely ahead of the curve of where even they thought they would be.
Yeah, I think what's amazing about them is that they're only playing 500 ball at home, and they're 12-4 on the road. And interesting start there. How about in the National League, too? The Mets really having a good start to the season, outpacing Washington, but that East is looking pretty competitive early on. But we talked about St. Louis, and you look around, how about the Dodgers? So many people pointed, look at all the moves of the Padres. Padres still trying to find themselves, sitting around 500, but the Dodgers off and running in that NL West.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if the Padres really put it together in the second half of the season because they have so much talent and they really filled a lot of gaps. And sometimes it's hard for everybody to gel and find their groove, kind of like seems to happen in the Indians a lot. I think the Padres are going to make a nice run in the second half of the season. Of course, the Dodgers just have so much talent and so much money behind them that halfway through the season they can always pick up anything else that they still need on the open market.
Yeah, absolutely. We know about that, trust me. But you can't exactly, hey, it is what it is with the big market, small market, and we can only talk about it till we're blue in the face. But I agree with you, and it does make you sick when you think about it like that. Like, well, what do we need to do? Well, we'll go ahead and do it then, But hey, just because the road is easy doesn't mean it always is paved with gold. But yeah, just looking around baseball, a lot of good baseball being played early on. Cubs, hey, is this the Back to the Future year, man? They're floating just above 500 there, man. we'll see if Marty McFly was right in Doc Brown's time machine. But it's been a good season early on, man. A lot of good baseball, and hopefully there's a lot of better baseball left to be played by the Tribe. They've got the Cardinals in town for a 3-game series here. Starts at 6:10 tonight, man. Jeff, you have a good rest of the week. Enjoy the Indians, Cavaliers, a couple of big ones here. It'll be games 5 and 6 before you and I get back at the end of the week and talk, and should be a lot of fun, a lot of good stuff between now and then.
Yeah, that's right. We definitely will have no shortage of stuff to talk about on Friday. You
got it. Jeff, you have a go. You working on anything this week besides the usual stuff on the Indians101.com?
Pretty much usual stuff. Going to follow this series and see if the Indians show some signs of life.
Sounds good. Check them out, Indians101.com, and check them out every Tuesday right here on the Sports Fix. He's Jeff Gorman. Jeff, you have a good one, my friend.
All right, thanks. You too.
You got it. He's Jeff. I'm Jerry. This is the Sports Fix. We're going to take a break, get you a news update, and come right back with my man, Dr. Football. He's back in the house after a short, brief absence. He'll be back here. We're going to talk a little bit about the latest going on. Hadn't even talked about it yet today as the penalties came down yesterday on the Patriots, on Tom Brady. 4-game suspension for Tom Brady. I got to tell you, I've got my own thoughts about it, and I know some people don't like it, and that's fine. That's fine, but I don't think, come on, man. They spent more time investigating deflated footballs than people who beat up their women, who beat their kids, who do all kinds of crime, all kinds of things, man. But we, whatever. And I'm not saying that you don't investigate when things aren't right. I just think the Tom Brady aspect of it gets me. Like, look, man, I equate it to a baseball clubhouse guy, man, who knows that I like the maximum legal amount of pine tar on my bat, so he gets overzealous and puts more, and I get the hey, it's my fault. I guess I should have been able to know. I don't know. Point is that I think all Tom Brady's guilty of is saying, I want those footballs as low as they can go, and some overzealous locker room attendants took the rest. That's me. Hey, you could see it totally different, and I could be totally wrong, but the fact that he steamrolled the Colts in the second half of that game and did the same with the super safeguarded Super Bowl footballs, and that he's done the same every year of his career, leads me to believe that Tom Brady doesn't need to cheat to win a football game. I'm sorry, man. That's where I'm at. I don't think Dr. Football probably doesn't even agree with me. We're going to find out when we come back. We're going to talk about that, and Bill's got his thoughts on the Browns draft. First chance to talk to him as well there. They've got rookie mini camps going on, guys signing. Xavier Cooper signed here today. We'll talk Browns draft, Brady, Patriots, DeflateGate, all of that with Dr. Football. Bill Check is coming up next after the news. Hour 2 of the Sports Fix coming up next.
Indian Fever. The Sports Fix, your choice for intelligent talk.
I'm expecting a very important delivery at the house, so could you please call me if it arrives? I'll give you my cell number. 401-555-1125.
440.
No, I was just repeating the 4. 1-4.
1-4.
Intelligent talk.
Okay, 1125.
1125. 155.
I'm not giving you quantities of the numbers. I'm giving you the numbers. 1125. Those are the last 4 numbers.
Oh, I see. 1125.
Yes. All right. Now read the number back to me.
Let me get my pen.
The Sports Fix will be right back.
I'm Tyler Zeller, and you're listening to The Sports Fix.
Business owners and professionals, do you want to take your business, your product, your team, your event to the next level? You want to advertise right here with the Sports Fix. Our listeners are among the most loyal listeners, terrestrial or internet. The Sports Fix universe is not only the radio show, but tens of thousands of fans on Facebook and Twitter. Email me, Jerry Myers, thesportsfix@AOL.com. That's thesportsfix@AOL.com. And let me help you swing for the fences and hit it out of the park right here on the Sports Fix. Whether it's an oil change or a new set of tires, Quick Lane at Valley Ford Truck has you covered for your car care needs. They're your neighborhood quick service experts. They also offer a low price tire guarantee. Choose from 13 brands, and if you find the same tires at a lower price within 30 days, Quick Lane at Valley Ford will refund the difference. 5715 Canal Road, right under the 480 bridge in Valley View. Come see why life is better in the Quick Lane. quicklane.com/Valley Ford Truck.
Portions of the Sports Fix brought to you by Harry Buffalo. Harry Buffalo, join the herd.
News break.
Good morning, I'm Bob Picozzi. He has until 5 p.m. Eastern Time Thursday to file an appeal of his 4-game suspension. There seems little doubt that Patriots quarterback Tom Brady will do that. But what will owner Robert Kraft do? Appearing today on Mike and Mike, ESPN NFL Nation Patriots reporter Mike Reese said he thinks Kraft will fight the ruling.
He was ready to put down the boxing gloves last week, and he felt like the league wasn't ready to put down its boxing gloves, so he wants to keep the fight going maybe a little bit longer.
The penalties also include the loss of a first-round pick in the 2016 draft and a fourth-round pick a year later. In their 45-year history, which dates back to their origin as the Buffalo Braves, the Clippers franchise has never advanced to an NBA Conference Final. They can do that tonight. The Clippers, who lead 3-1, will host Houston Game 5 Western Semis. Steph Curry scored 21 of his 33 points in the first half last night to lead Golden State to a 101-84 win in Memphis, evening that Western semifinal at 2. The Detroit Free Press is reporting that Michigan has reported 4 secondary violations under new football coach Jim Harbaugh to the NCAA.
Nothing feels as good as a job done right. When it comes to cleaning up, Quickie Bulldozer brand push brooms are always the right call. Lightweight yet durable, they can handle all your cleanup needs. Look for the Quickie Bulldozer brand at Lowe's.
You're listening to the Sports Fix.
Welcome back to the Sports Fix Live. Whoa, there we go. Take it all the way down. We'll just take it under me a little bit here. Welcome back to the Sports Fix Live. J-Rocc back with you, getting ready to roll into hour 2. Going to be joined momentarily by my man, Dr. Football. Bill Checkis getting ready to rejoin us. Bill, been gone for a few weeks here. We're going to catch up, talk about the DeflateGate. Tom Brady suspended 4 games. Patriots hit with a big fine, losing some draft picks. First-round pick in 2016. We're going to talk about that, talk a little about Bill's thoughts on the Browns draft here and more. We're going to talk to the doctor here, some NFL talk with Bill Checkis. You guys can talk with us on Facebook and Twitter, facebook.com/thesportsfix. Tweet with us at The Sports Fix CLE. Email us, thesportsfix@AOL.com. Facebook.com/The Sports Fix. Tweet with us at The Sports Fix CLE. And of course, you can email us, thesportsfix@AOL.com. I've gotten a ton of mixed reaction from you guys here over the course of the last, not even 24 hours, because it was really just yesterday after we got off the air yesterday in the evening hours that the word came out about the suspensions and the fines and all of that. But I've gotten a mixed reaction from guys. Some people think that it was not enough because of the cheating Patriots and Tom Brady, and there's always that line of people. I think there's a longer line of people who dislike the Patriots, period, and I think that's obvious. But regardless, there's that line. There's people who think it's ridiculous that anything was done, and as far as Tom Brady or whatnot. And there's all kinds of people in the middle. You guys have hit us up with all different comments, and it's quite interesting to me to see the way the NFL reacted to this and the punishments that were laid down, and you look at some of the other things that have happened and the way they reacted to other instances in the league. You look at this past year alone, and I find so many reasons to shake my head at the NFL. To me, you can't convince me that this isn't a case of some overzealous locker room attendance. thinking that they were doing something good and you know, doing more than they were wanted to do. I'm sorry, man. I just find it hard to believe that, you know, Tom Brady's success was based on 1 pound of air in a football, and he's been on this systematic path of cheating his way to being a great quarterback. I'm not buying that, man. I'm just not buying that at all, man. And I don't know. How come nobody complains that Phil Jackson and the Chicago Bulls, their coaching staffs used to have needles in their pocket? They would deflate the balls when they felt that the basketballs were too bouncy. They wanted a little bit of the air taken out of them, not to an illegal level, as they say, but simply to make the basketballs as low as legally possible. I mean, there's lots of instances of things like that, again, but it is what it is. The NFL chose to levy the punishment that they did, and I just think that Tom Brady is caught up in this here, because the NFL's in a situation where now all of a sudden they've got to try to look like we couldn't get it right when Ray Rice knocked out his woman in an elevator, and we couldn't get it right with Adrian Peterson, and we couldn't get it right with Greg Hardy, and then, you know, we're trying to make up for it now, and so we're going to make sure we go out and get those Patriots who did it to us again, you know, and again, they hit the Patriots franchise truckload of money, $1 million, like Dr. Evil, $1 million. Hit them with $1 million fine. Basically, they considered the previous Spygate as a prior offense, and that I can get with. You do hold the Patriots responsible because they hired the employees who committed the crime. I'm with you on that. You don't have to have knowledge of that to be held responsible for things that were done, because you need to. It's much like a college being held responsible for things that individual coaches do to violate things, recruiting violations, different things like that. Unfortunately, if you weren't overseeing them enough, then that's got to come back on the school, fair or unfair. So I'm with it. Hit the Patriots franchise. Then they hit them with a first-round pick, lost next year, and a fourth-round pick in 2017. I mean, that is definitely... that's a painful penalty to any. Trust us, we know here in Cleveland what it means to be without first round picks, whether you don't have them or whether you pick them and they're worthless. But either way, we know what that's all about. So you hit them there. But I mean, the Brady part to me is. To me, it's because Brady said, listen, man, you guys, this is as much as I'm going to cooperate. And he wouldn't give him his phone. He wouldn't give him his emails. And say what you want, but until you're in that same situation, don't tell me that you would just hand over your phone and you would just hand over your stuff either. But regardless, there's another school of thought that says innocent people don't have anything to hide. But at the same time, I just simply find it doesn't matter. In the second half of that game is all I need to answer my question. When the footballs were as inflated as they could be, the Patriots steamrolled the Colts, and Tom Brady looked rather slick, didn't he? He did rather well, didn't he, for a guy with the wrong footballs? Same thing in the Super Bowl. Same thing every other game of his career. So, again, I've got no problem holding the Patriots franchise responsible for what some rogue locker room attendants did. I still believe, this is me. This is my gut feeling. This is what I think happened. Plain and simple. Tom Brady made his preference very clear. As low as you can go, take it there. I want them as low as you can go. If those guys chose to think that they were hooking a guy up, and tell me that you haven't seen tons of instances of stuff like that too, where somebody goes, hey man, I thought I was helping you out. And it's like, no, you went way too far. To me, that's what a lot of this looks like. You can say, hey, well, you're just sticking up for Tom Brady. Yeah, fine, because I believe that he's rolled up in a set of circumstances here. 4-game suspension, 1 quarter of the season. That's the same suspension that, anyways, I could go into a whole nother direction with that, and I just simply feel that they overreached in that regard, and I think a lot of it was because of simply failure to cooperate with the investigation. So, again, I laugh at the terms more more probable than not. More probable than not is worthless. That means I think you did it, but I can't prove it. That's what more probable than not means. That means I think you did it, but I don't have any actual proof that you did. And that's all that is. So that's my thought on that. Hit the Patriots, the $1 million. You want to fine them? That's fine. This league's got billions of dollars. Who cares about that? That's one rich guy writing a check to another rich guy as far as I'm concerned. Same thing with hitting them. You want to hit them where it hurts? Hit them where it hurts. I, again, equate it to an assistant coach who commits recruiting violations at a college. The whole university ends up being hit with sanctions because they weren't monitoring people enough. Yeah, you blame the Patriots for letting their locker room people do what they were doing, but to me, Tom Brady's rolled up in the thing, and right now the league's looking for anything like that. I mean, here, we don't punish anybody, so now we're going to go above the other way. And again, you wanted to fix it? You should have went and rolled them teams back out there. You should have stopped it from happening. You shouldn't have compromised the integrity of your championship game to go out there and prove a point that you really couldn't prove anyway. So, and we could keep going with this, but I'm not going to talk to myself. I'm going to let my man get in on the conversation. Dr. Football, Bill Check is back after a few weeks here on The Fix. Bill, how you doing?
I'm good, J-Rocc. How are you?
I'm fantastic, my man. Welcome back to the show. How you feeling?
A lot better. Still having some pain. I'm probably the only person I ever met that had a catheter break on them and have it replaced.
Wow, well, that's an interesting way to start this conversation. I feel your pain. I don't literally feel your pain, but I feel your pain. I know you've been struggling the last few weeks, and man, really, my thoughts out to you. And I'm glad you're able to feel better and join us here on the show this week, man. A lot to talk about. You heard me going on, and I said before you called in, I said Bill may not even agree with me. I said not everybody likes Tom Brady. I said some people think the Patriots are dead wrong, and I think you heard what I said. I get holding the franchise responsible for what their employees did. I personally feel Tom Brady getting 4-game suspension is ridiculous, even though I absolutely agree with the aspect of holding the Patriots accountable. But what are your thoughts on this whole thing, the amount of time they spent investigating it, and the fact that they compromised the integrity of their playoff game to set this thing in motion to begin with? I find that quite amazing.
Well, that's the reason why the penalties are where they are. And again, whether you agree with it or not, this is the league trying to clean up its image after the Ray Rice fiasco.
Oh,
and, Roger Goodell's just not going to let anybody, get away with anything else that impinges the integrity of the game. Now, whether you agree it's 4 games or not, if he argues, he could get it reduced to 2 games. If he has a successful, I'm losing the word, appeal. If he has a successful appeal, he could get it knocked back down to 2 games. I do think he personally should be held accountable because he was the player most involved. And
I hear you on that. I hear you on that, Bill. Let me talk about that. Let me ask you your thoughts because again, to me, the way I see it, and I'm curious the way you interpret it, because to me, I look at, I was using a baseball equivalent. Say, I'm a batter, and the clubhouse guys know that, I don't know what the maximum amount of pine tar that you're allowed to put on the bat is, but I know that they have a level. There's like a maximum amount that you're allowed to have to help your grip. And if I tell my locker room guys, hey, I want my bats to have the maximum I can have, the absolute most that I can have. And if they think that they're doing me a favor and they put me over the limit because they think they're giving me a little bit of an advantage, but I get it that it's just like when you take a tainted supplement, and I have seen cases of this before where you take a supplement that ends up causing you to lose to fail a drug test, and it's your fault because you have to be responsible for what you put into your body. But and part of this makes me laugh at the fact that the NFL allows the teams to prepare their own footballs. It's the only sport that doesn't bring their own equipment to the game, But anyways, so part of me says that just because Tom Brady says, hey, guys, I want it as low as it can go. the absolute lowest it can go. If those guys decide that they're going to try to hook me up and make it lower, how is that my fault? Except now, if you can show me that I knew about it and didn't do anything, that's one thing. But to me, you're making a huge leap of faith in guessing that that's what he told them to do simply because he wouldn't answer any more of your questions or whatnot. I don't know. To me, you have to add stuff that's not in evidence. You have to assume that he told them to do it, and I believe you just can't prove that. To me, he did not know no such thing. And plus, he was so much better with the good footballs. I mean, that makes this whole argument pretty foolish, Bill. He killed them when the footballs were right. You know what I mean?
That's true. He did kill them, when the balls were unpainted. However, a deflated ball makes for a sloppy end. Let's face it.
Okay, that's fine. I get that. First off, maybe that's the NFL's fault for having a variable range that the football should come in. Again, maybe that's their fault for not providing, the footballs that you play. I'm pretty sure that the Cavs don't roll out their own basketballs for the game, and you know what I mean? But again, I point to the fact that he wanted them as low as they were legally allowed to be. That's my point of argument there, and I just believe that you're holding him responsible for something that he had no control over, unless you can show me that he went in that locker room and said, "Hey, make those footballs illegal." That's the difference. I think you make a leap of faith there in jumping. And plus, I believe that you're talking about a guy. This isn't Brady Anderson showing up one season on steroids and hitting 50 home runs after he'd never hit 20 before that. This isn't a guy whose performance suddenly got better because he started cheating the game. I think his track record. Now, maybe you want to say, well, the Patriots' track record. The Patriots and Tom Brady are two separate issues. I'm saying hold the Patriots responsible. But Tom Brady has been above reproach his entire career, and there is, to me, no reason to believe that he would commit a ethical violation of the game, because he's given you no reason to believe that he would. He has been above reproach as a professional football player. You know what I mean? True. So now we're assuming that he's a cheater because we assume that Bill Belichick is a cheater and the Patriots are a cheating organization. But yet, up until this, everybody said that Tom Brady was above reproach.
Well, you can't actually prove, you have no recording that actually proves it, that he said that he made a directive to the ball boy to do this. However, I'm sure it's possible that during the week he said to the guy, "Hey, just make that ball a little less pressure. It makes it easier for me to grip it in the cold." That doesn't mean that he's going to throw it better. It just means he's going to grip it better. That was the mistake he made.
Well, I understand that. No, that's the mistake the NFL made. They allowed the teams to have a range of air to put in the football. Then he clearly said, this is a ridiculous argument that I'm even making. The NFL should not allow the teams to have a range of air pressure that they can choose to put their footballs in. This is a league-caused problem, and they're making it even worse with this ridiculousness of this investigation. Meanwhile, they've spent more time and more resources investigating this than anything involving all the serious stuff that's gone on in the NFL.
Well, I think that, again, Goodell didn't want to be caught with his pants down again.
I think this is just a huge overreaction of this situation to fix or somehow overcompensate for underreactions to everything else that they've done. And it just shows to me that the NFL remains tone deaf to what the majority of the general public sees about their league, because the general public sees this as a league that's got people losing their minds over a pound of air pressure. And meanwhile, I saw a great point, and I wish I could remember who brought it up. It was Jackie McMullen from the Boston Globe. It was a good piece where she brought up, here, we're having all of this stuff going on here, this huge hullabaloo this week over air pressure in footballs. Meanwhile, last week, where were all the outcries when Frank Clark from Michigan got drafted by the Seahawks? We talked about him last football season because he came from Ohio to Michigan, and he had a very nasty incident of beating up his woman at a hotel, and because he was able to plea the charge down, that was the excuse that the NFL and that the Seahawks hid behind. And meanwhile, there's all kinds of evidence to the contrary. But, I mean, that's not a guy who was in the league, who deserved due process. That's a guy who was kicked off of his football team in college and was allowed to be drafted with the 63rd pick in the draft while he's fresh off of an incredibly nasty domestic violence situation. But we're talking about deflated footballs here. You know what I mean? They're tone deaf, and it drives me nuts.
Well, that's true, and they do need to. They still have a long way to go. Let's just say, with being more sensitive to what's going on off the field, and they can't have investigators everywhere.
No, I hear you. Again, and I look at who it is. You're talking about an MVP of your league. You're talking about somebody who has been such a representation of the good side of sports and of all of that. And so it's not somebody who had a sketchy history, who, you know what I mean? Who it's like, well, we always wondered if that guy was cheating. You know what I mean? Like, and that's the part that gets me. It would be like if the NBA all of a sudden, it's how you go after one of your main guys that gets me too, because it's like I don't know. I think back to the NBA when I was younger, Michael Jordan, and how the lengths that they would go through to protect their guys at that point. And I know it's a different world now. You don't want them to protect their players, but I feel like this is an instance of somebody being over punished to overcompensate for the failures of the league in the past with other people. Hey, it is what it is, and I think that he's brushed with the stroke of the Patriots and Bill Belichick, and that's a whole different set of arguments, because now there, Bill, let's get off Brady for a minute. Now there, you definitely have a history. You've got Spygate. You've got a definite history of somebody in your franchise getting a competitive advantage. So I have no problem fining the Patriots $1 million. I don't even have a problem hitting them with a first-round draft pick, because as I equated right when you joined us, to me it's the same as at a college football program when an assistant coach makes some violations that ends up getting you losing some scholarships, or you end up getting kicked out of the postseason for a few years. The whole university didn't know this was going on, but you have to be responsible for your employees. So because you had some rogue locker room people, I've got no problem holding the Patriots responsible for that part of it.
Yeah, I think the penalties were fair and just.
Yeah,
you could debate how many games Brady gets till we're blue in the face, until he actually files an appeal with the Players Association. And obviously, at this point, his own personal lawyer will get involved as well to help draft up that appeal. We can't really speculate any more than we already are. So, I mean, it's going around in circles.
I just laugh. I laugh when I think of the fact that Ray Rice was suspended for 2 games initially and Tom Brady for 4. But anyways, it is what it is, and this thing's going to continue to go. I fully expect the fight to continue. I'm sure Tom Brady, unless he surprises everybody, do you expect him to appeal? I'm sure he will. He's got until 5 o'clock today to do
I do.
it.
I do, and I think it'll go right up until the very last 15 or 20 minutes before the deadline, and I think he will appeal it. I wouldn't be surprised if they're already preparing it, in the Washington, D.C. headquarters, that they're already prepping it in the Players Association.
And you know what? It makes me think back to the Browns last year with Josh Gordon. We know how their appeal process works in the NFL. It takes forever. This thing could quite possibly be much like Gordon. Could roll into training camp, and it could could be right before the season, before whatever decisions are made, before the status of Brady. But as we know it, they've got that incredibly convoluted appeals process there in the NFL.
Well, again, even if he appeals, he can still work out with the team.
Right.
He can still, work out in the passing camp. He could go to mini camp. He could go to training camp. They expect him to go to training camp anyway and prepare. And obviously, the Patriots have other draft picks they made, and Brady has to, we know he's in the quote-unquote twilight of his career. He's going to want to have every chance he can to set as many records as possible before he hangs up the helmet.
And I got to tell you, here's my thing with the Brady thing. The games it's not a big deal because, as you said, you're older. To me, I look at it as, hey, the Patriots are always they don't get their season started until after the bye week anyway. They're you know what I mean? They always get off to a so-and-so start to the season, and everybody goes, the Patriots are done, and then they get going, and next thing you know, they win the Super Bowl. But they can get through a couple of games early. That's not the thing. It's more the thing to the reputation than anything else. But regardless, I think it's such a as you mentioned, it's going around in circles. Everybody's got an opinion of it. That 20 years from now, when you're talking about Tom Brady, you're either going to be one of the people that thinks he did something wrong or thinks he didn't. There's not going to be a middle ground with what the length of the suspension should have been. I either think he did it or I think he didn't, and it's not gonna matter anyway. To me, the interesting thing is that it will. Unless he gets completely exonerated on the appeal, which I doubt will happen, he'll most likely be out 2 games, which means we'll be looking at a little Jimmy Garoppolo action, perhaps, to kick off the season for the Patriots.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't be surprised, and I wouldn't be surprised if between now and the start of the season, Tom Brady winds up on the nighttime talk shows, Jimmy Fallon, all those guys. And if there's no football skit involved, I'd be very surprised.
Well, yeah. What are your thoughts, though, on Garoppolo here and him getting an opportunity? He's somebody that I liked when the Browns were drafting, looking back 2 years ago there, as somebody you could develop, and the Patriots snagged him up. And a lot of people see a lot of potential for him to eventually take the reins for Tom Brady. This could be kind of a sneak preview to see maybe where he is in his development. But what do you think about that? Are you as high on him as some people are?
Well, I like him a lot. It's really funny. I was in the media weight room waiting for some other players to come to the microphone who were drafted, because remember 2 years ago that was like they invited like 35 players.
Yeah.
And they usually invite like 20 players now. So I don't remember who we were waiting for, but Dave Goldberg, may he rest in peace, when the Associated Press comes down to the room, and he's like everybody's dean. He's like everybody's rabbi in the business, in the New York segment of the business. And, I had told him, that I didn't know how many more of these I was going to do, and it did turn out to be my last one. And he said to me at that time that was probably the steal of the draft, because the Giants were looking at him, and we remember what happened. We know who they took. But the Giants were looking at him further down in the draft as somebody they could develop. So if the Giants like him, I guarantee you there's a lot of other people in the league that, have some good things to say about this kid. Now, whether or not, he does have a little bit of issue with his motion, not the throwing part of the motion, but setting the shoulders, and if the coaches can work with that on him, I think you've got another guy who's going to be a perennial starter and a possible All-Pro.
Absolutely. And here's one thing that I was thinking. I was telling a friend last night. I said, if you're the Patriots, okay, right now you're mad and you got your dander up and you're going to fight the league for a while. But if I'm looking at this from the long-term perspective of my franchise as far as the quarterback position, if I'm Bill Belichick, you actually have almost forced a situation that will help the Patriots in the future, because Tom Brady will assist, and the team will, their whole goal will be to get that kid ready to start at least 2 games and maybe 4 games of the season. So it won't be because of an injury. It won't be because of any circumstances that cause you to scramble. You'll be able to be well prepared, and Tom Brady will be able to spend time, really even more than he already does, helping Jimmy Garoppolo prepare for games. So actually, you're kind of forcing the Patriots to kind of throw the kid in under the fire, see where he's at, and make sure that, you know, that's where they want to be, and make sure that they're going in the right direction. But you kind of give them an opportunity to do it. And I don't know. I could see a situation where that actually behooves the Patriots in the long run, because they either get a certain evaluation of the guy, they get a way to prepare where it's really, you've got time to do this. I mean, really, and Brady can sit down and really get the kid ready, teach him how to start. And I mean, like I said, he's already doing all that, but it's a different environment when it's really happening for a whole set of games, and it's a good little a thing for him and for the Patriots. I'm just saying, eventually Tom Brady won't be there, so there's a good thing for them out of that too. But regardless, a lot of people still talking about this. Something that I want to talk to you about. I want to get off of that topic. This week we've talked too much already about this stupid football thing, but let's talk about things that have to do with the Cleveland Browns, because you and I haven't got a chance to talk since the Browns draft, and I was curious what your thoughts were on the Browns' basic approach in the draft and the guys that they came out with.
Well, you know, I think they know they went in with the fact that they needed to improve on the defense, especially the pass rush, and they knew they weren't going to get any of the top-line offensive players. I mean, the top 3 guys. None of them were going to fall down to 12. So they said they were going to go with whatever defensive players were best at 12 and 19, and I think they did very well in both the early rounds and the late rounds. I think even though Danny Shelton is going to have an immediate impact at tackle, don't be surprised if Xavier Cooper is starting by the middle of the season. This kid fell down. This kid should have been a high 3rd, low 2nd round pick.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's sooner than the middle of the season. Yeah, I think he starts by the end of training camp. I'm with you. I think Xavier Cooper was a good steal there for the Browns. Yeah, go ahead. And,
you know, I've seen both Shelton and Nate Orchard play quite a bit. And, you know, as well as Cooper, I'm going to tell you, Cooper is the steal of the draft right now for the Browns. He's one of a handful of players that you're so fortunate to find this guy. You know, how did they get him at 96? That's my question. This guy should have been picked by the 75th pick.
Oh, I agree, and that's a lot of people saying that.
And he's there at 96.
I mean, as you say, being on the West Coast, you got to see him playing for Washington State out there. 6'4", 300. I mean, he's comparable in his measurables to Danny Shelton, the guy that they took in at the number 12 pick. This guy, Xavier Cooper, who, by the way, the Browns inked him yesterday to his contract, so they've now got 5 of the draft picks signed. They got Orchard signed yesterday as well. They got Charles Gaines, Randall Telfer. But Cooper, he's 6'4", 300. He started 34 out of 36 games, so, you know, he was in there from the beginning in the mix. 121 career tackles, 31.5 for loss, 13 sacks. He had forced fumbles. I mean, he was all over the place, really, for his spot on the defensive line. And I go further than you. You say by the middle of the season. I think Xavier Cooper is maybe not the one and only starter, because I think they're going to rotate a lot on the defensive line, but he is in the main grouping. I think that both him and Shelton are, for all intents and purposes, both starting on the defensive line to start the season. But yeah, you're right. That's a great place to start, because Xavier Cooper was, to me, he slipped down at least 15, 20, maybe even a little bit more spots in the draft further than where he should have went.
No question. And I know you want to get over to the offensive side, and there are a lot of people that I'm
we can
hearing
stay.
that-
No. I want to stay where you're at. I like Danny Shelton. Again, I think Danny Shelton instantly makes the Browns' defensive line better because he can take on those double teams, and he's going to make the outside rushers able to get to the quarterback a half a second or a second faster. But you mentioned Nate Orchard, and again, that's another one that I think instantly. I'll tell you what. I think that Barkevious Mingo better feel the heat from Nate Orchard because I believe that this regime did not draft Mingo, and they're going to let Mingo get another shot at it this year. But I think Nate Orchard is their Barkevious Mingo. That's Pettin going, this is the guy that I think I can use all over the place to rush the passer from all different places. And I think that definitely turns the heat up on in training camp for Barkevious Mingo. But talk to me. You like Orchard too.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you something about this kid. He is, like you said, he is all over the field. And Utah used him as their disruptor. Okay, he's the guy that they use at the point of attack, wherever the ball is going to be. Orchard is there with the tackle, the stop, the half tackle. He gets tackles for loss. He got some sacks. I remember one play that I'm thinking in specific against Arizona State where he just tore the field up. ASU won the game, but let me tell you something. Orchard was all over them. All over them.
Oh, I'm telling you, man, he's got great footwork. He was a wide receiver in high school and then converted to defensive end. So he's got that great quick feet that you get from being a wide receiver. He was a first-team All-American his senior year, and he won the Hendricks Award. That's the top defensive lineman in the nation. He won that in his senior season as well. I'm with you. I think Nate Orchard is going to also be a great addition. Defensively, I really think that the Browns went into this draft with a plan, and they addressed it. They nailed a lot of depth and a lot of starters. They really took care of the inability to stop the run last year and in the backfield. And I know we'll talk, I know we're skipping over Cameron Irving in the first round, but while we're talking defense, I can't say enough about perhaps you talk about Cooper being the steal of the draft. I think 12 months from now, we're saying a different name, one word, 3 letters as the steal of the draft. And that's Efo coming out with the very last draft pick for the Browns there, man. I mean, that's a guy that's a first round talent that because of that ACL tear for Oregon ended up falling all the way to the end of the draft.
Yeah, and it's rare that the Browns get the very last pick. They get the Mr. Irrelevant pick. And I've told you in the past I've been to that week. That is a really, really great week. It's all done for charity. Everybody who donates, anything on top of the what it costs her on the banquet goes to various area charities for kids. And I'm going to tell you, Paul Salat is a great guy. He's getting up there in years now. He's had a couple of broken hips from skiing, which is what took him out of the league in the first place. He broke 2 knees skiing because he loves his winter sports. But he was still getting on the slopes until a couple of years ago. And, he understands, even though he didn't play, a 10, 12-year career, he played 5 years. But, he understands exactly what these guys are going through now. When they get picked lower in the draft, nobody cares about me. I'm worthless. Why was I picked so low? I should have been picked higher, whatever. They give him a good time. They hand him a $10,000 check, and they give him a good time. They give him a really good week. In Southern California, it's a nice time.
Oh, you're talking about Mr. Irrelevant was not the Browns. I'm talking about Efo Ekpre-Alamu, man, the defensive back from Oregon that the Browns grabbed with their final pick, not the final pick in the draft.
He wasn't Mr. Irrelevant?
No, I don't know who that was. That was a couple of picks later. But no, I'm talking about Efo, man. I mean, that to me is a first, second round draft pick in the 7th round that's going to redshirt for a season and could quite potentially just be a huge story in the future. I mean, that was a first-round talent before he was injured back in December.
Right. He still is going to have a little bit of rehab to go. Like you said, they're going to redshirt him. They're going to sit him down this year. But that is a pick for the future. And I wouldn't be surprised if he's 90% by the middle of the season. They give him a couple of shots, back there, as a sixth guy, as a dime back, until he's fully recuperated.
Well, a lot like what we saw last year with Pierre Desir. By the end of the season, he was getting some reps and ended up starting a little bit there, and I think that's what we're going to see here. If we can get him out there by the end of the year, that's just a head start on the following season. And then, you talked about going to the offensive side. On the in the first round, Cameron Irving, to me, was a great pick there. That was the pick to make going on the offensive line, because you've got somebody that can play all three spots on the line and could potentially replace Alex Mack if you need to next season when he takes a walk. In the third round, though, I wanted to ask you, what were your thoughts on Irving, by the way?
Well, I like Cameron Irving for the exact reasons that you said, and I did see a little bit of Florida State. Just because I'm out here in Arizona doesn't mean I don't get any games back east. I do, thanks to the game plan, and I get a lot more games than the average, person living in the West would get from the East Coast. And I saw a little bit of him. I think I saw 3 or 4 games of Florida State, and he is, like you said, he's very versatile. He will play all 5 spots on the line. He can play right tackle. He can play left tackle. I don't think he wants to play left guard, but I think if they said to him, you're going to start and you're going to play left guard until something else, happens, I don't think he's going to say, all right, I'm not going to play. Of course he's going to play. We know he's a center. We've seen him snap the ball, and he can play right tackle or right guard very easily. Left side very easily.
Yeah, he's definitely going to start. He's going to squeeze either Mitchell Schwartz or John Greco out of a job there on that side of the line for sure. I could see him being right tackle or right guard. The left side said, but he can definitely replace one of those guys over there. Third round, this was what I was trying to skip ahead to, because this was a guy you and I both actually brought up the days before the draft when we were looking at potential mid-round steals. Duke Johnson, the running back from Miami, I think that was a great pick for the Browns in the third round, and I think that he is perhaps the Browns starting running back by the early part of the season.
Well, you know what? I have a great story about Duke Johnson, and we didn't talk about it that much, but the reason why I know so much about him is he had a surgery during his second season, a minor vascular issue. And it turns out that my vascular surgeon, who did these couple of last surgeries on me to get me prepared for dialysis, was his vascular surgeon. He worked at the University of Miami medical facility for many, many years. And one of his partners was the guy who wrote the South Beach Diet. But he was the team vascular surgeon until 2 years ago when he moved here. So,
well, you definitely ended up targeting somebody that the Browns did as well, because they snagged him up, and I thought that was a great value pick for them at 77. Again, I think he's definitely gonna be in the rotation, but I think that I could definitely see him overtaking those guys. Although I love Crow and West, don't get me wrong. I think they now just have 3 really good running backs, and each one will push the other one. Somebody will have to step forward from there. They also addressed wide receiver in the 4th round, Vince Mailey, although he's a bit limited right now in mini camps because it turned out that he had a broken thumb, and the Browns weren't quite sure how it had healed before they drafted him, because they can only have, limited interactions. After he reports, they find out that it was a little bit less healed than they liked, so they went ahead and had surgery. He's going to be out for most of up until training camp, but he should be back, although I think it's going to set him back a couple of games to start the season, to be honest with you, because I don't think he'll be back until more like the end of training camp, which means it'll be kind of playing behind the 8 ball for him. But that's a guy with that big 6'3", 225 frame. I could see him being a lot more of a hybrid tight end wide receiver type, perhaps. And they also have a ton of they've got 2 or 3 undrafted tight ends that they've signed here that they're bringing in on top of Malcolm Johnson and Randall Telfair that they drafted here as well during the draft. So they're clearly looking to find a diamond in the rough there too. But I don't know if you got to see a lot. I mean, he's out there from your neck of the woods. Vince Mayley out there on the West Coast. What did you see of him playing for Washington State?
You know, he didn't get as much time as you would have liked him to get up until the senior season. You really want guys to have had 2 years as a starter, or at least a season and a half. He only had one full season, and I think he spare games here and there, covering for injury. But he is a very talented guy. He is somebody who you will find all over the field. He does whatever he's asked to do, and how could you not like a player like that? That says yes, coach, and no, coach, and yes, sir, and no, sir, and yes, ma'am, and no, ma'am, and holds the door for you. And he's just a nice kid.
Yeah, and one of the things about him is that a couple things that I like. A, as you said, good character stuff. B, former basketball player, turned football player, and recently turned football player. He's only got, I think, a little over 2 years or so, 3 years in the game. I mean, he is very rudimentary as far as his exposure to the actual game of football. So I think that he's very coachable and he's got a lot of growth in his game. But I like the fact that he's got the former basketball player because he go up and get the ball. We see that translating, and that's why I keep looking at tight end, because I could see him kind of being like a Jordan Cameron. Maybe not exactly the same. Jordan Cameron had a strong skill set, but I could see him doing a lot of the stuff. So, yeah, there's a lot I like about him. Ibrahim Campbell, somebody that they grabbed that I think could end up getting some time in his rookie season as a safety as well. I thought they did a good job. What was your thoughts overall on Ray Farmer's second draft?
I'm going to give it a B+. I think they addressed every single need. Just about. I think they, look, there's a lot to be said for teams with 2 picks in the first round, okay? That either you botch it or you come out smelling like a rose. I think Ray Farmer got a dozen roses for this one. I think he did very well. I think the only issue that I have is, that there's still whatever the cloud's going to be hanging over the quarterback.
Oh yeah,
and you don't address that in the first round with the 12th or the 19th pick, unless a miracle happens. And I'll just pull a name out of the air. Unless an Andrew Luck falls from the first spot or the second spot down to the 19th pick, which never happens. Okay, guys of that talent don't make it past 10. All right, they don't make it past the 10th pick. All right, and the Browns did very well for what they had. It's going to be a long time before they have 2 first-round picks that high again.
I agree. I think you're right. And, obviously, it'll be 2-3 years down the road before we really know how this did. But just looking at, and the way I vote, when I say how I judge this, I don't know how great these players will be. I judge it based on having a plan and executing your plan. And that, I believe that they did maybe more than they've ever done before as far as doing what they wanted to do. We'll see how good the players that they drafted came out. That's where you learn how good their evaluation is. But as far as that, I'm with you. I give it a solid B+, and hopefully it can go up into the A territory in a year or two once we see how some of these guys play out. Bill, my man, good talking with you again. Good having you back. Looking forward to getting back into the regular thing. Hopefully your health will stay up and we can do this again next Tuesday.
Absolutely, and unless something terrible happens, I should be good to go the rest of the way here.
Sounds good.
It was a minor thing. We were planning for me to have to do this anyway by the summer. Unfortunately, the kidneys are a tricky thing. It's kind of like the back. You don't know how bad it is until it's really bad. And, I've only known for about, say, 4 months that they were this bad to begin with. And, when you go into the kidney doctor's office and he tells you, I'm putting you in the hospital because if I don't put you in the hospital now, you're not going to make it to the weekend. okay? And, that makes you sit up and take notice.
Absolutely, and I'm just glad that everything's working out for you, and you're hopefully on the full road back, baby. I love it, and I'm glad to have you back here with us, Bill. You have a good week, and we look forward to talking again next Tuesday.
All right, and you know what? I got 2 nurses over there at the center, at the dialysis center. One is a Ravens fan, and the other one is a Steelers fan. So we'll have a lot to talk about this year.
They got to go. All right, Bill, have a good one. We'll catch up next week.
All right, take care, J-Rocc.
You got it. My man, Dr. Football. You guys can always tweet with them at AskDrFootball. We're going to take our final break, come back and wrap it up. Floyd Mayweather, Manny Pacquiao numbers coming in. My goodness. They have shattered the live gate, which we knew, shattered the pay-per-view record even higher than anybody anticipated. Wow. We're going to talk about that, set the stage for the Tribe, the Cavs, NBA playoffs, and more when we come back. Final segment of The Fix coming up next.
When it comes to Cleveland sports, we go from
"You can't touch this"
to
"I can't watch this."
So listen to The Fix. It's easier on the eyes.
Guys, want to take just a second as we head into this break and remind you about the official business printing source of the Sports Fix, our friends at Signs and Ship. Signs and Ship, I'm telling you, Chris and Pam, they've taken care of me since day one, and they can do the same for you. Whether you're a small business that's already been established and you're looking to grow to that next level and expand your business, or perhaps you've got an idea that you just know is going to be a great business and you need to figure out how to brand it and how to promote it and put it out there, Signs and Ship is the place for you. If you need a logo, they can create one for you. They have a fantastic graphic designer. Business cards, signs, banners, yard signs, mobile advertising, anything you can think of that you need to promote your business, they've got it at Signs and Ship. The best thing about them, too, is each of their locations, whether it's the home base here in Elyria, Ohio that I work with, or their spots in Virginia, Florida, and Pennsylvania, it's all local sourced. Very important to me because we all understand that small business is the lifeblood of the community. So check them out, signsandship.com, or call Chris and Pam today, 440-323-6060, the home office in Elyria, Ohio. Signs and Ship, quality printing at affordable prices.
Portions of the Sports Fix brought to you by Fantasy Jocks. Looking to upgrade your league trophy? Check out fantasyjocks.com for championship belts, rings, trophies, and more. Fantasy sports lovers, you put so much time, hard work, and effort into playing week to week that it quickly stops being a fantasy and starts getting real. Real time spent making real decisions, creating real victory.
I'm the greatest man in the world!
And when the smoke clears, you want to show off those victories with a real prize.
I mean, a really real prize.
Nobody does that like Fantasy Jocks. The crew over at Fantasy Jocks have beautiful, high-quality, and heavy-duty championship belts, rings, trophies, and so much more for all your fantasy sports needs.
The trophy's 12 feet high, and it is glorious.
Football, baseball, hoops, you name it, they have it. Plus, they have awesome draft kits and party supplies to make all your preseason activities the envy of everyone. If your league needs a ring, belt, or trophy, or you want to upgrade what you already have, there's literally only one place to go. If you're going to be a fantasy jock, do it right.
It's mine. The most magnificent belt ever created, and it's mine.
With America's fantasy sports superstore, fantasyjocks.com. Sports Fix listeners, like us on Facebook today. Facebook.com/The Sports Fix.
Hey, everybody. Listen up.
Listen up, guys.
Hey, guys. Listen up.
No one should ever hit a woman.
Not their wife, not their girlfriend, not their date. No woman should have to fear violence.
Especially not from someone they know and trust.
But that's the reality for too many women.
We have to change it.
It's up to each of us, because even one is too many.
Violence against women hurts all of us. Growing up, I was ashamed and afraid of my father when he abused my mom.
The worst abuse of power is when a man raises his hand to hurt a woman. We all have to take responsibility. So if you see someone threatening a woman, step up, speak out, and get help.
Dating violence hurts all of us. So step up and help end it. Because one is too many.
One is too many.
One is too many. One
is too many.
End the violence. Because it's wrong.
Because one is too many.
Hey, this is Antoine Jameson, and you listen to the Sports Fix.
Everybody was kung fu fighting. That's right. Getting ready to rumble down at the Q tonight. Welcome back to the Sports Fix. J-Rocc back with you. Final segment of the show. They're going to be kung fu fighting tonight. It is Game 5. Cavs and Bulls tied at 2 after an incredible first 4 games of this thing. We have seen a little bit of everything. They're getting playoff nasty, and it's only going to get better and bigger and even nastier from here tonight. Game 5. I'll repeat what I said at the beginning of the show. The Cavs have been 2-2 in a Game 5 9 times. 8 out of 9 times. The team that won Game 5 won the series. That's it. That's all you need to know. The Chicago Bulls have been in a Game 5 tied at 2, 20 times. They are 0-9 when they lose Game 5. They are 1-10 when they win Game 5. Huge difference there in all aspects. Game 5 is a big one here. It's not the be-all, end-all, but it's a whole lot better to be the team leading 3-2 than trailing 3-2 heading into Game 6. LeBron says he's going to be okay tonight. Of course, that ankle's got to be hurting him. We saw how bad he rolled it. Kyrie Irving giving you everything that you can get out of him here tonight. It is all hands on deck. It's do what you got to do. Matter of fact, I just got a text from my buddy during the break that I was talking about earlier in the show. Said, I heard you talking. Tickets have been sold. I couldn't resist it. So apparently he'll be joining the crew here watching the game here this evening, but he could not pass up the temptation of the price that those tickets were getting. I mean, I'll just tell you now, he's in the 133 area, I believe, somewhere in that area, 130-ish area of the queue there, and just say he was able to get 250 or so per ticket. So ticket prices are up there for this one here. I'll just tell you, he couldn't get half of that in the first round, and he'll get 3 times that if it goes any further into the next round. He asked me for my recommendation. I said, sell Game 5, and if there's a Game 7, go to that one. If there's not, you got your money. I said, but if you have to sell one, you don't take a chance because there might not be a Game 7. But anyways, he'll be watching the game with me. We'll all be watching it tonight. Cavs, Bulls, Game 5. Big one here at the Q, 7 p.m. tip-off. We'll see who gets this one. Meanwhile, will the Clippers finish things off? They lead the Houston Rockets 3-1, looking to put the dagger in and tend themselves to the conference finals. I brought it up earlier in the show as well. Only 8 teams in NBA history have come back from a 3-1 deficit to win a series. Houston starting the long road back here tonight. That's the late game immediately after the Cavaliers game, 9:30, and that one is on TNT. Of course, the Tribe and the St. Louis Cardinals tonight, 6:10. They're going to get a jump start on the Cavaliers with the early start tonight, and the Cavs game will be on the televisions at the corner bar in the queue, or in Progressive Field. St. Louis sends out Lance Lynn on the mound. Indians taking the mound tonight for the Tribe. Carlos Carrasco, he's 4-2, 4.71 ERA. Lynn 1-3, 3.52 ERA. We'll talk about that tomorrow. We're going to talk about the Cavs game with Dan Wismar. I want to leave you with this. Pacquiao Mayweather, all of the controversy around it still has yet to be settled, but some of the financial numbers are beginning to come out from this thing. On pay-per-view, the record, which we mentioned before, was about 2.4 million pay-per-view buys. It was De La Hoya Mayweather back in the day. Mayweather Pacquiao, and the numbers are still coming in. They are at 4.4 million pay-per-view buys and counting. They have almost doubled almost doubled the record ever for any event on a pay-per-view. 4.4 million buys and counting. The pay-per-view gate is over $400 million already. And that's going to be a nifty split between the fighters for that one. Check this out. And there's more. Mayweather Pacquiao sold 46,000 of those $150 closed circuit tickets we were telling you about, where people went to various MGM casinos and paid $150 to watch the fight on a closed circuit television screen. They did 46,000, or roughly 10 times as many people who will be at the Indians game tonight. And here's the big one. The live gate. Oh, well, the big one is the pay-per-view, but check this out. The live gate. The largest live gate for a boxing, for any combat sport event, was Mayweather and Canelo Alvarez back in 2013. Mayweather and Alvarez sold out 16,146 tickets, $20 million gate. Well, check out what Mayweather and Pacquiao did. They sold the exact same number of tickets. Mayweather and Pacquiao generated $72,198,500 from the sale of 16,219 tickets. It is triple the previous live gate record for any event. It is unbelievable. Think about this. The Super Bowl last year, the gate was about $80 million, and that's with the 70,000 people in the stadium. They did as much money with 16,000. Check out how this breaks down. It is absolutely amazing. They found out, because all of this has to get put on record with the commission, there were 46 free tickets for this fight. There were 4 $10,000 comps given out. I'd love to find out who were the 4 people that got those comps. There were 46 comp tickets. That's it, given out. And unbelievably, they found 9 unsold tickets to the fight. There were actually 9 tickets unsold to this thing. 6 in the $7,500 price range, 2 in the $5,000, and 1 $3,500 ticket went unsold. The highest number of tickets sold and the most money came from the $5,000 ticket range. Almost 5,000 tickets were sold in that range, $25 million worth. In the $10,000 VIP ticket range, where you had to be asked to buy the ticket, they did 1,226 of those, another $12 million. They did 1,594 $7,500 tickets, 4,000 $3,500 tickets. They sold 2,500 at $2,500, and they sold 2,000 tickets at the lowest $1,500 price range. The average cost of tickets at the arena was $4,400, although in the secondary market it was closer to $15,000. This fight was absolutely insane, and turns out that they sent damaged goods out to the ring, and it was pretty much a fraud perpetrated on the general sporting public. So there you go, some amazing numbers generated by a fight that, what do you know, boxing has a fight and some controversy and a potential ripping off the people. What do you know? Did Don King promote this one? And they say wrestling's a work. But everybody bought this fight, and they sent the one-armed man out there. And at least Vince McMahon would have put a substitute fighter in the main event. He'd have called Hulk Hogan out of retirement or something, man. But boxing, they just sent the one-armed man out there to dance and hug with Floyd for 12 rounds. There you go. And then they'll have surgery, and then they'll have a rematch. Guys, we're going to call it a day. Getting ready for tonight. I'm about to hit the gym. I've got a hard workout to come, and then get ready for the Cavaliers and the Bulls. Game 5. And the Tribe and the Cardinals, and we'll be here tomorrow. Dan Wismar will be here with us. Doug Plagans will be here from the Cleveland Gladiators and the Lake Erie Monsters. And you'll be here, I hope, as well. Live, same bat time, same bat channel, noon tomorrow, here on the Sports Fix. We love you, Cleveland and beyond, wherever you're at. Party hardy tonight. Enjoy the games. We'll see you tomorrow live right here on the Fix.